Hi everybody, welcome to Tuesdays with Tilde. Really appreciate you being here. And if you like what you're seeing, please be sure and share it with your friends as often as possible. Today I'm really excited to be interviewing somebody that was one of our first interviewees back in 2011 when we were first starting to do our Real Women, Real Stories, Real Inspirations series. Today we have with us April Samuels, the founder of Breast Cancer Can Stick It and a breast cancer survivor. Thank you, April, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so long since we sat down and really talked about everything that's been happening since that interview, right?
I know.
I mean, I hear bits and pieces about what you're doing. I'm really excited about everything that's happening for you. But kind of tell people briefly your story and how you ended up in the seat.
Right in the hot seat. Well, I guess for about 7 years I had been going in for screenings. I found a lump prior to being diagnosed with breast cancer, 7 years before being diagnosed, and it ended up being a fibrocystic cyst, you know. And so I went in and was getting screened every 6 months for 7 years. And I guess it was July of 2010 when they were doing one of those normal screenings, they found something that was a little different. And I had gotten used to seeing what things look like on the ultrasound screen. I was doing primarily ultrasounds for my screening every 6 months. And basically the fibroid cysts were like dark in the middle with kind of blue around the edges, and they were real easy to spot. But the one that they saw in July of 2011 was kind of not as, you know, it wasn't oblong, it was more round, and it was kind of speckled. And even I, you know, could see when they pointed it out that it didn't look the same. But I still was like, you know, I've had biopsies, aspirations, all this stuff in the 7 years, and everything had turned out fine. So I wasn't really that concerned about it. But they were like, we want to keep an eye on it, have you come back in 3 months, and we're going to check it out again. So in 3 months, I came back, and it was October when I went back in there. And they checked it out and had grown to twice the size. And so at that point, and it was still really small though, which was good. So at that point, they ordered a biopsy. They did what's called a core needle biopsy, where you're awake and they go in with it's an ultrasound guided core needle biopsy. They go in and they basically kind of just chip off a piece of the tumor, pull that out, and then they test it. And so I'm trying to remember, I think it seemed like every test that I had the whole time going through breast cancer was like on a Thursday. And so I always had to wait over the weekend to get the test results. So I remember having to wait over the weekend. And they had also aspirated the other cysts, so they were testing two different things. So they called me on Monday and they were like, hey, we got the results back, everything's fine. I was like, oh, cool, so, you know, both, you know, the aspiration and the biopsy are both good? And they're like, oh, no, this is just the cyst is good. I was like, oh. Okay, so then I still had to wait. So 9 o'clock, Tuesday, October 26, 2010, it's like, you know, just branded in my head. They called and said, actually, you've got what's called triple negative breast cancer. And at the time, my doctor was like, you know, get on the internet on some reliable resources and learn about triple negative breast cancer, and then, you know, come in next week. At the time, I lived kind of far from my breast surgeon. And then come in next week and we'll sit down and talk about everything. So I learned that triple negative breast cancer is one of the most aggressive, most likely to recur forms of breast cancer. Basically anything you find on the internet about triple negative breast cancer is really scary. So needless to say, you know, it was a really emotional and scary time. By the time we went in to see the doctor, I decided that from that point on, I was going to record all conversations with any doctor about my breast cancer diagnosis or any treatments or anything like that, because you're so emotional at that time. It's really easy to just kind of space out or forget or whatever. So I started recording on a little MP3 recorder every conversation I had. And so went in there, sat down, talked about it, and he basically gave me all the options. But the first thing that needed to happen was they needed to make sure there wasn't any cancer anywhere else. So for the next week or so, did some CT scan. There was another scan that I forget what it's called, but it was some kind of a nuclear scan, like a body scan. I know they use the term
Sounds
nuclear.
horrible.
I was like, I don't want to be nuked or anything. So there were these 2 primary scans. Of course, I had to wait over the stinking weekend again to get the results. I'm like, it's just making me crazy. And so all that turned out good. And I mean, you just can't imagine the relief from that. There was still one more thing that had to be checked, and those were my lymph nodes. So prior to any surgery, they asked me, they said, we can do a lumpectomy, we can do a mastectomy, we can do a double mastectomy, we can do radiation, we can do chemo. They had all these different packages. Yeah. Pick your package. And and with my surgeon, he gave me all the options. I decided at that time, because I knew it was an aggressive form of breast cancer, that I wanted to do the most aggressive approach. And so I basically said, what's the most aggressive approach? He said, double mastectomy and chemotherapy. And I was like, let's do that. So when they went in to do the double mastectomy, they don't actually know the stage until they know if you have any in your lymph nodes, any cancer in your lymph nodes, and the exact size and all that stuff like that. So when they went in and did the double mastectomy, they also did a sentinel lymph node biopsy. My gosh, can't say that very fast.
I'm impressed that you remember.
I know. A sentinel lymph node biopsy at the same time as the mastectomy. So they took out both breasts and they biopsied several lymph nodes, and found that there was no cancer in my lymph nodes, and they were able to say at that point that it was stage 1. That's awesome. Yeah, so some people might be like, well, wow, you just went through and had a double mastectomy and it was only stage 1. Look, I don't care. I didn't want to ever have breast cancer again, and so to not ever have breast cancer again, you don't have breasts. So I also opted to not have reconstruction, which I know you know, because one of the more common places for breast cancer to return can be on your chest wall. And I didn't want any barrier between, them finding it and any cancer that might turn up later, because I want it to be found as soon as possible if there is any. So I made that decision. I actually wear prosthetics, and I've been really pleased with that decision. So
yeah,
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long before you did all that, and you were done with the mastectomy and the chemotherapy, how long before, were you cancer-free directly after that? Or, how did that happen?
Right. They usually say that the point at which you're cancer-free is when the cancer's removed. And so when I had that double mastectomy, I believe the date was November 10th. On our other video, I said the wrong date, but I'm pretty sure it was November the 10th of 2010. That was when I had the double mastectomy, so that's my cancer-free date. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, just to be clear, the chemotherapy was like a preventative measure in case there was any cancer cells or there were any cancer cells floating around. They wanted to be sure and get rid of that.
And that's when we did the interview, because you were still in the middle of the chemotherapy.
Yeah, when we did that interview, it was like right in the middle, like smack dab.
So how did it help you? Because, you said, and somebody said here that, it was really smart to record your sessions with your doctor. So how did that help you?
Right.
Recording that, or what were you thinking when you decided to do that?
Yeah, whenever I was diagnosed with breast cancer, it was just like there was a bunch of information coming at me at once, and it was a real emotional time. And I was just concerned that I wasn't going to remember things, going through all the tests, the mastectomy, the chemo. There were also a lot of instructions. You can do this, you can't do this, all kinds of stuff. And I would literally go to every appointment with a list of questions. And then I would ask them all the questions. And inevitably, either I'd miss writing it down or whatever, and I would be able to go back and check that later. It was kind of funny because, I recorded everything. Every time I was in the presence of a doctor, a nurse, whatever, I recorded it all. And I might be jumping ahead, but there was a period when I had my port put in right before we started chemo, I started chemo in December. And when the port was put in, we found out later that I accidentally punctured my lung. And so when I was in the hospital for 5 days with a chest tube, getting that fixed, I recorded every conversation still in the hospital. Well, I was drugged up like bad. Like, I don't drink or do any drugs or anything. I'm just like, so any amount of, medication that might be mind altering was just like, threw me down.
It happened.
Yeah. So I go back and listen to some of that now, and it's like, I'm just like, oh, where's the, hey, and I'm just like totally out of it. And then we even recorded like when I had the drains removed after my mastectomy. And so you hear me screaming and the pain of all that. And so every single thing was recorded. And someday I would like to share that, so people can really experience what that was like. But yeah, it was super helpful to do that, obviously.
Yeah. So just listening to you, and talking about the pain involved, obviously there's so many, it's like cancer is going rampant, right? All forms of new cancers are being found and things like that. Women are obviously being continually diagnosed with breast cancer. Talk a little bit about how scared you were, and what really helped you to get through that. Because it is really, really scary.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know plenty of people who have not survived,
right,
breast cancer. And, whenever you hear it nowadays, it does instill that fear. So talk a little bit about that side of your journey.
Yeah, well, as soon as I was diagnosed, it's like, for whatever reason, even though, like, if you look at all the stats, survival rates for people with breast cancer are going up. So it's not, what it used to be. But it didn't matter at that time. As soon as they told me that I had cancer, I just assumed I was going to die from cancer, and soon. And I remember, I think my dog, I don't remember how old she was at the time, but she was maybe 10 or something like that. And I just remember looking at her and thinking that she might outlive me. And that was like one of the I don't know, it was such a crazy moment to have that thought, Yeah, it was really scary. But, as we've talked before, I think it was probably, it was quick. It was within 2 weeks of being diagnosed. I decided that I wanted to come up with something positive, to put my energy into. Prior to even getting diagnosed, like on the Sunday before I was diagnosed, I remember thinking, if I have breast cancer, I'm going to be the biggest advocate that I can be. And within 2 weeks of being diagnosed, I came up with the slogan, breast cancer can stick. And it was more of like a motto, But we started putting it on T-shirts and raising funds for organizations who are fighting breast cancer, out there, doing stuff to raise funds for people going through breast cancer or the cure and things like that. And so I really put a lot of time and energy into that. And I feel like that is one of the big things that helped me. In addition to having that positive outlet, I surrounded myself with people. We talked about that 5 years ago too. I just found that if I was alone, that I would be like getting really depressed. It was not good when I was by myself. So I just made sure that I had friends around a lot. If I knew I was going to be alone, I would plan ahead and have somebody come over. And I just tried to stay in touch with people, and that kind of kept me going too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that your faith played a huge part in that too. So talk a little bit about how that helped you.
Yeah, and it's funny that how it worked out, because I haven't really been into church very much my whole life. I've always been a Christian, but I was never really into church. And I think it was 2 to 4 years, all the timelines get messed up, but 2 to 4 years before I was diagnosed, I had gotten back into a church that you were going to and Deborah was going to. And I was really involved in it. I was the treasurer there. I played in the band there, helped out a lot and things like that. And I just don't think it was an accident that I was in church at that time in my life and had such a strong support group of faith, and just felt that all of this was happening for a reason. And breast cancer can stick it, to me, is the proof of that. I mean, you just can't deny that this all happened for a reason.
Yeah, and so many people say that, and that when they do get diagnosed, it's about their faith, the people that they surround themselves with, and then that mindset, of courage and bravery of getting through that and seeing themselves past the circumstances that they find themselves in currently. Yep. A lot of survivors have those things in common where they don't consider themselves dead already. Although I'm sure it can be really sobering and really sad at times, but again, surrounding yourself with people that love you and that can encourage you and give you the hope when maybe you wake up not feeling with any hope at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what were some of the resources that you can share that really helped you, like other organizations, and then we'll talk about Breast Cancer Can Stick It, obviously, but what are some organizations that you really respect and go to as far as partnerships, or that you feel confident that other women or breast cancer survivors can check into?
Right. Well, as far as information about breast cancer in general goes, the best resource I found for that was the American Cancer Society. They have huge documents. They talk about every possible stage there is. With every stage, there's like an A, B, C, D, and it's just like there's a lot of information, and they just had such awesome detail. I remember printing out this huge PDF and going through it and highlighting parts and just learning a lot from them. Another one is the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation. For me, that was really important because they're focused on triple negative breast cancer. So I was able to get a lot of information about triple negative breast cancer. And in fact, we do a webcast every year for triple negative breast cancer on March 3rd, which is Triple Negative Breast Cancer Day. So we do a webcast every year and donate to them. And so they're a wonderful organization. As far as partnerships, there's a couple of ones that Breast Cancer Can Stick It partners with that could be helpful to some of the viewers here in the Dallas area. The Parkland Comprehensive Breast Center, they help provide mammograms for underinsured and uninsured women. So it's a really great place to go if you're in the Dallas County, and you need a mammogram. And mammograms are obviously so important because it's early detection that really makes a difference. And then we also partner with Baylor Salmon's Cancer Center for their Research and Trials Center. So that's one of the big organizations that we give to each year. We gave $10,000 last year, $10,000 the year before, and so we're really helping fund their research and trials. But what also is really cool is a lot of these hospitals, Parkland, Baylor, and I'm sure UT Southwestern, all the other ones, and in the different areas, the people who may be watching this, a lot of those hospitals that you might be getting treatment at have awesome support groups. It's so cool. They have, yoga, they have journaling, they have, Baylor Salmon's Cancer Center especially, I'm very familiar with them because that's where I was treated, but I'm sure that most of the different cancer centers have something similar, but they had so many cool support groups that you wouldn't even think of. Who thinks of a journaling support group for breast cancer patients, or just a regular support group, or yoga, or whatever. The breast center, or the Comprehensive Breast Center with Parkland, they have a yoga class for breast cancer survivors. It's just really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. Not just to have a place where you can go get treatments, but an actual community that's being built around the facility, so to speak, or around breast cancer and stuff. So when we visited, because Womanars produced a video for Swim Across America, which you were affiliated with, and we got sort of behind the scenes look at the Baylor Salmon Center and the amazing facility that they've built there to make people feel so comfortable, so to make them feel like they're not in a hospital. Really, that's the whole mentality, right?
Yeah,
so when we were there last, they were just building out the floor where they were going to have the new treatment.
Yeah, the research and trials.
Yeah, and so have you seen it since then?
Actually, they opened that cancer center about midway through my treatment, and so to see the difference between where you have chemo done, the infusion rooms at the old place and the new place, it's just like totally different. The new place is real open. There's these big TVs. They have those chairs like when you're getting a pedicure.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like getting a massage
that, yeah.
and you're like, you know, warming up your thing or whatever. And it's just really nice.
Yeah. Going through the chemotherapy, you really took a step back and it made you slow down.
It did,
a lot,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And really think about what was important.
I hope nobody thinks that I need to go back through a chemo since I sped back up again. Yeah, no, you're right though.
Right.
I mean, and at that time, I felt, when I said that, I felt that it was, something was telling me I needed to slow down and kind of look at my life again. I have definitely sped back up with breast cancer can stick it at the forefront. One thing I think is important to point out that was a pretty cool thing that happened since our last talk was, let's see, I think it was in April of 2011, I had my last chemo treatment. And that day I was like, you know, I want to go out. I want to celebrate, you know? So a couple friends of mine's bands were playing around town. So I went and saw one friend and then went over to see another friend. And they were playing at a venue called Wizards in Dallas. And it was a band called Metal Shop. And I went out to go see them play. And, you know, I was bald. I had a breast cancer can stick it shirt on, but this was before we were actually a nonprofit. Again, it was just more of a slogan. And they got me up to play Talk Dirty to Me by Poison. I got up there and played, and it was so awesome. And almost a year to the date of that happening, their drummer said he was going to leave, and they called me and asked me to join. And so I joined Metal Shop at the end of April of 2012, and that band plays about 120 shows a year.
Wow.
So yeah, so we're playing a lot every single Friday and Saturday, and then sometimes during the week. And so it definitely got more crazy than I anticipated. Back before I got diagnosed, I was playing in like 5 or so bands, but we weren't gigging that frequently. You know, it was a lot of rehearsals and gigs here and there, but now it's just gig. So it's gotten really crazy. But the cool thing about it is, you know, with the support of the guys in Metal Shop and our management and everything, they've allowed us to integrate Breast Cancer Can Stick It into those shows in October, where we're able to raise even more funds than I would have been able to in another band. This band is very well established, has a big following, and it's a really great opportunity. We've had celebrities come in October and join Metal Shop on stage for the big Breast Cancer Can Stick It shows. And it's basically, we just piggyback on top of shows that are already set up and just make it a big, fun, you know, festival type of thing. So anyway, it's gotten pretty crazy.
Very cool. No, that's exciting. So what else is on your calendar as far as Breast Cancer Can Stick It? I mean, I know you're working on events.
Yes.
So what's coming up and what is coming up, well, more recently and then in the future?
Right. Well, this Sunday, May 29th, we're going to be a part of one of the biggest events that we've ever been a part of. We've been invited to be a part of the BFD concert put on by KGL 97.1 The Eagle here in Dallas, Texas, and iHeartRadio. And they're doing their big concert. It's an annual event that they do at JEXA Energy Pavilion. It's going to feature bands like Shinedown, Three Doors Down, 6 a.m., Collective Soul, Drowning Pool, and many others. It's an all-day thing. We've decided to have a booth there, but we've got a 60-second video that's going to be playing throughout the show. You know, that venue, I believe, has a capacity of like 20,000, so we're going to get in front of a lot of people at this event. We're really excited about it. So that's this Sunday, May the 29th. We have some other events coming up between now and October, smaller events, but our big event that we've started having is called Drumathon. And our first one was last year. And, you know, other organizations have like races or walks or whatever. And Drumathon is our big walk. And basically what it is drummers register, and then the top 60 or so drummers will be able to actually play the top fundraising drummers will be able to play at the big event in October. The date's not set yet, the venue's not set yet, but we're gonna open up registration hopefully next month, so we're gonna get everything ironed out here pretty quick. But drumathons are a big thing, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, so what exactly happens during a drumathon? I mean, the people that raise the most funds get selected to be on stage, and how long do they have? I mean, is it like a minute of fame that they get to be on stage, or what is it? If I raise enough money, can I get up there and
absolutely, sure, and it isn't open. I mean, you don't have to be a drummer to register. Yeah. You could be a part of it and still be eligible for prizes. And approximately 30 to 60 drummers, the top 30 to 60 drummer fundraisers. Let me try to say that right. The top fundraisers, the top 30 to 60 fundraisers will get to drum for it's going to be between 1 to 3 minutes at the event. And the thing that's cool about it is we're going to have celebrities there. So they'll have an opportunity to play in front of celebrity drummers. Nice. Like last year, we had Carmine Appice, who's played with Ozzy, Ted Nugent, Rod Stewart. We had Vinny Appice, who's his brother, but they say their last name's different. Vinny Appice, who's been with Black Sabbath, Dio. And then we also had Matt Starr, who's been with Mr. Big and Ace Frehley and Bang Tango. And so they were there. And so they got to see all these people drum and stuff like that. And then at one point during the show or during the event, you could donate to play alongside one of those celebrities for a certain amount of time. So we had 2 drum sets up there and toggle between drummers all day, and then there was an opportunity to play alongside people. But we also had, a band play. We'll probably have multiple bands this year. We have silent auctions, raffles, games, booths. I mean, it's just a big festival-like atmosphere. Food. It's an all-ages thing. It's a really, really cool thing to bring the family out to. And we raised $13,000 in our first year last year, and so we're shooting for 25 this year. Awesome. And we're really excited.
You'll get it. So who are some of the people that inspire you the most today?
I was not ready for that question.
Sorry.
Can you tell? No, it's okay.
Besides us.
Yeah, besides you guys. I mean, the people who go through my head are, celebrity breast cancer survivors like, Joan London or Jennifer Griffin from Fox News. Those are some people that we were trying to work together with on some events coming up in the past and stuff like that. So they're definitely inspirations. I remember when I was going through breast cancer, I heard about Jennifer Griffin and everything that she was going through, and she was triple negative as well, and how she changed the way she eats and everything like that. And I really have changed the way that I eat by learning from her. So I would say she's a really big inspiration. Man, I should come back to that one, because I know I'm not thinking of the folks I need to be thinking of right now.
But I'll let you marinate on that one. But how has your life changed? Your lifestyle changed from 2011 when you were, or 2010 was it when you were diagnosed?
Right, 2010, yeah.
To now. I mean, because it's been almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
So how has your lifestyle changed? What are you doing now that you weren't necessarily doing then that has really helped you maintain, your health?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I did change the way that I eat a lot. I really try to eat more organic foods than I used to. Another thing is I cut out a lot of starch and carbs and stuff like that. I used to eat pasta and potatoes and rice and all that, a lot of that, and I don't really eat that at all anymore. I haven't eaten fried foods in a long time, so I really have changed the way I eat. Now, if I hadn't gotten in metal shop, I would hope that I would be working out on a regular basis, but because I am in metal shop, it is like the biggest workout you could imagine. I mean, I don't know how many people out there use Fitbit, but when I have a busy day, I logged 34,000 steps on a day last month, I think, or it was actually May 7th this year. We had a breast cancer consecutive event during the day, and I had played the night before, and I played that night as well. And so with all that in one thing, I had like 34,000 steps, which is a lot of calories burned. So I'm really, staying in shape thanks to metal shop right now and drumming. And, anytime I drum during the week, it's a great workout. I know that it might sound silly to some people, but you're moving everything, and it's a really fantastic workout. I mean, you see all the cardio drumming that they do now, and all the drumming workouts.
Oh my
God,
I saw those drum classes that they're
Yeah.
having now. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's full body.
Yeah.
You know, it's full body cardio. It's great stuff. So I'm really thankful that I get to do something I love and work out at the same time. You know, a lot of people don't have that ability. You know, maybe somebody might have it with like cycling or running. They might have a real love for running or whatever, but drumming is really keeping me in shape. So I'm really thankful for that.
So what's your best advice for women and men who have been diagnosed with cancer recently?
You know, it's the same answer I had for you 5 years ago. It's hope. You know, it's a matter of staying hopeful, you know, and always looking to the future and just continuing that fight. You know, if you keep that hope, that's what I feel is important. You know, being around people was a big important thing for me, but that's not important for everybody. You know, find what your thing is and do that. You know, I figured out that it was being around people, and I did that. And you have to figure that out. You know, like it's sort of that saying, you know, find your happy place. You know, it's like what is it that makes you smile?
Yeah.
Think about that. What makes you smile?
Yeah.
And do that, and don't stop.
Yeah.
Why? See, and you were like, you're gonna make me cry, and I'm like, why is that gonna make me cry? I'm not crying. Everything's cool. But find that thing that makes you smile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that makes a huge difference, I think, in anybody's life. No matter what you're going through, is to find that thing that makes you smile. I mean, for me, it's all my art that I have in my house, or the little sock monkey I have hanging on my cabinet in my kitchen.
I'm gonna see this.
Yeah. I mean, but it is. It's those things that you might wake up in the morning, and you don't have to have cancer, but you might wake up, like this morning I woke up and I wasn't feeling all that great. So I had to go and find my happy place, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's those times when you just aren't at your optimal, but I have luckily placed things all around my home that remind me of how blessed, you know, I am, no matter what, to be living the life that I have currently in this moment, and to be sitting here with you and enjoying the conversation that I'm having with you, and to be fully present in that, and to have experienced my interview with you 5 years ago,
right,
and to be sitting here now.
It's crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it's a huge blessing. And I mean, that testimonial that you did 5 years ago has been such an ongoing blessing to me, and people tell me for them too. A lot of people have told me how much of a blessing that has been to them. So thanks for that.
No, you're welcome.
Okay,
you know,
we're
and
gonna later.
gotta give kudos to Deborah Gloria, who partnered with Womanars and did the videography for that, and the editing and everything,
and the phototherapy.
Yeah, the phototherapy or therapeutic photography.
Got it. Therapeutic photography.
Yeah, that she's doing now, and just an amazing job in being able to tell that story the way that made us all proud. To do it. So.
Amen. Lately, I've been getting a lot of people asking me, you know, oh, I think this is wrong, or, you know, I'm worried I might have cancer, or I'm afraid of a mammogram or whatever. And I just feel called, if you will, to tell people out there, you know, somebody wrote me recently, and they thought that they might have cancer. And they asked me what I thought they should do. You had got to go to the doctor. I know that sounds simple. I know it's scary, but I don't feel that I would be able to tell you that today if I didn't stick to that my whole life. If I didn't go to the doctor, then I wouldn't be able to be telling you today to go to the doctor. So if you have any health condition or anything that you're concerned about, I don't care if it makes you look like a hypochondriac. Okay, I've thought for years I was a hypochondriac. I said it to my friend, she's like, you're not a hypochondriac, because every time you think something's wrong, something is wrong. And I'm like, well, that's a good point. So it's better to be safe than dead. You know what I mean? So go to the doctor. Don't wait. Don't wait until your lump is huge. don't wait. You're killing yourself. Nothing is scarier than your life ending way before it needs to, you know? And I've also had a lot of people recently, it's just funny because it's all been happening in the last couple of weeks. A lot of people recently that are saying that they're scared to have a mammogram. Look, okay, I'm telling you right now, I've had tons of mammograms. I have never been like, oh my God, that hurts or whatever, okay? It just isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Trust me on this. I mean, have you had a
Oh
mammogram?
yeah, you get squished.
Yeah,
That's about
it's like
as painful as it gets.
It's just it's like being pinched.
Yeah.
I mean, how bad can you get pinched? I mean, if you get pinched like and it's a really small part, it hurts really bad. But
And
your
it's
breasts
maybe
are bigger
10
than that.
seconds. 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I'm telling you, it is so worth to potentially save your life by having a mammogram. I know it sounds cliche, but early detection saves life. If you don't go in for that mammogram, then you don't know what you're dealing with, and you have to do it. Just do that, and don't be afraid of it. If you are concerned about it, dart me a note. I'll tell you again, it doesn't hurt. Trust me.
So maybe you know whether or not this is true or not, but I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine who had been having mammograms every year. And now the insurance is saying that every 2 years is okay. Past 40 or 50 or whatever it is. Is that true?
I don't know. I know that recently they put out something that said that they didn't need to require it until over 50. I can't remember what organization, so I don't want to misspeak, but I believe it used to be 40, 45, and then they changed it to 50, I believe. And I don't know if insurance is following that or not. But, you know, if you have a concern, find a hospital in your area that does mammograms, and if you can't afford it or your insurance doesn't cover it, find a facility in your area that will help you cover it especially if you have a concern.
Yeah. So do you know of any facilities here in Dallas that
Yes,
do
the
it?
Parkland Comprehensive Breast Center. They you know, if you have a concern, give them a holler. They'll work with you on that. They help underinsured, uninsured individuals. Just give them a call and they can help you.
And check yourself regularly.
Yes. Check yourself regularly. And you know, there's another form of breast cancer that people aren't as familiar with, called inflammatory breast cancer, and that is something that's visual. So even if you don't feel any lumps or anything, but you see something weird on your chest, go to the doctor, because that could be a form of inflammatory breast cancer. And don't be scared, because if you're seeing it and you're doing it as soon as you can. So just get there as soon as you can.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a really great point in that a lot of times women don't put themselves first or put their health first.
Right.
And don't listen to their intuition. Because I am a firm believer that we know our bodies better than anyone.
Yes.
Any doctor, for that matter. And if you feel like there is something wrong with you, go to the doctor. And if that doctor doesn't find anything wrong with you and you're still feeling like there is something wrong, go to another doctor. I can't stress that enough. I have seen it happen way too many times to where women are right about their own bodies but don't listen to it, and instead they keep getting misdiagnosed by doctors who aren't listening to them.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I did something recently where this was something that we really talked about, was that no one cares more about your own health than you do too. And it's true. You know, if you have some issue or some symptoms or whatever, stay on it. Don't give up. A perfect example, my mom's best friend was having some problems, and they thought it was like a gastrointestinal problem. And they just were like, yeah, it's just this, it's this. They were treating her for all this other stuff. She got on the internet and started looking up her symptoms, and it was pointing to ovarian cancer. Wow. Now, a lot of times, granted,
that's hard to detect too.
Yeah, it is. But a lot of times, granted, you might put in a bunch of symptoms, and believe me, I've put in symptoms for all kinds of stuff, especially since I got diagnosed and it shows cancer. Doesn't mean it is, but you know, she was concerned because her symptoms matched that of ovarian cancer. She went to her doctor and she said, I want to be tested for ovarian cancer. They ran tests and she had ovarian cancer. Wow. And so she saved her own life. It wasn't her doctor. She kept on it and she stayed diligent. And that's so important because like we're saying, you know your body better, and no one's gonna put the attention on your own health more than you will.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go back to the question, who inspires you the most?
Dang it!
Before we finish out. And you can think about it again while you're telling people how they can get a hold of you and connect with you,
Sure.
or Breast Cancer Can Stick It.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gosh, we are all over the place. We're mostly active on Facebook. We've got Breast Cancer Can Stick It on Facebook, and we've got the official April Samuels on Facebook. Those are the two most active places you can find us. We also have our website, breastcancercanstickit.org. Breast Cancer Can Stick It is on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. You can see the Womanars video. I believe we're linked up from the Breast Cancer Can Stick It YouTube account. So just follow us on any of those places. And the stupid question about, not stupid question, but who inspires me? It's like, that should be so obvious, and it's just not smacking me in the head right now. It's people that overcome huge hurdles. You know, I've seen a couple of videos on Facebook recently about people who weighed like 500 pounds, and that they just put their mind to it. And I remember a quote in one recently. It said something like, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And I love that. I just love that. And those people inspire me greatly. I think another type of thing that inspires me is people who have dreams and are going after them. You know, I have a lot of friends right now that I see doing that, and I get so excited, you know, because I feel like with Breast Cancer Can Stick It, my dream is doing that and solving for breast cancer, or helping those going through breast cancer, and I'm going after that dream. So when I see other people going after their dreams, it encourages me as well. So it's, you know, I kept thinking of Deborah when you asked the inspiration question, and I was like, she's one of a list of many people, because she's one of those people who went after her dream and is living her dream, you know, and she falls into that category for sure. My dad is actually like somebody I look up to more than anybody, like his business sense. You know, like I call him all the time about any business related anything. The guy's brilliant. I mean, he went from being a janitor at 18 to owning the company. You know, the same company.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, and he
Wow.
worked there, I don't know, 40 years, something like that.
That's
Same
awesome.
company.
That's
Yeah.
a story, girl.
Yeah. I mean, my dad's the inspiration, if it were still on. That's who. I have said that before somewhere. I think about it, but yeah, my mom, she had an abusive childhood, and she's like this amazing person, and I don't know how that happens, because, you know, you always hear of that cycle repeating, you know, and she broke through that, and I always ask her, you know, how, you know, and she had this grandmother who was just this really big role model for her, and that's who she followed in the footsteps of instead of her mom.
Wow.
A
Yeah, it's the stories, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what inspires me, is those people overcoming insurmountable obstacles, you know, or just doing what they love in spite of the naysayers or people telling them that they couldn't have done it. You know, I mean, that to me is like true inspiration.
Yes.
And people that will do things not for the notoriety, but simply for the love of it.
Right.
You know, they are doing those things not because they're getting paid for it, but because they sheerly love it.
Exactly.
And that to me is really inspiring, and what keeps me going too, doing what I love to do.
Yep.
You know, so I know that you can totally relate to, and maybe that's what it is, that we relate to that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, doing what we love to do.
Right, right.
So whether you're on the Facebook Live or watching us on our YouTube channel, please be sure and reach out to her. And we'll be putting all the information below the video on YouTube as well, on her website and other ways that you can support her. Our mission at Womanars is to make it fun and easy for you to find inspirational and educational content online. We produce shows like this one and many others that we feature on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to know more, please visit us at Womanars on YouTube. So thank you very much for joining us today. And like I said, if you like what you're seeing, be sure and share it. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel, and Instagram. So those are the social media channels that you can plug in. Thanks, guys.